Hello and happy Monday. Welcome to Love at Lunch. Today we're talking about worry. My name is Leona Devin. I'm a coach and facilitator from Calgary, Canada, and author of Finding Your Joy Spot, where we take a look at 40 years of research on flourishing. And today we look at one of those aspects, which is how do we experience more positive emotions without moving past those tough places. We don't want to brush over anything. We want to move through things. So today we're going to talk about worry. A couple things we want to think about worry. Worry can be very acute. A couple weeks ago, I had an MRI for my brain. I've got brain tumors and an MRI for my abdomen to look to see if any other tumors have grown. I have a genetic condition that leaves me highly likely, 90% chance of developing tumors in 10 different places. And so when it's MRI season, I get a little scanxiety. I am like, oh gosh, I hope everything is actually behaving. And thankfully, with the exception of one tumor in my brain, everything has remained stable, just a little growth on that little guy. So we might have worry that's very acute. It's very situational. It's right now. And so just noticing that, and maybe there's a pattern around that worry, how it is that you manage that, what it is that goes on internally. There can also be what I call legacy worries. So something that you've had since you were very young, and it's like formed kind of a groove in your brain. Or it can be even longer, like generational. I grew up as an immigrant kid. Parents were raised during the war. Things were very scarce, and so you saved everything. So as a result, I would say that part of my makeup is that I am indeed a better saver than I am a spender. And one of the things that I worry about, logical or not, is around money. Am I being a good steward? Am I doing the right thing? And so I know that's kind of a legacy worry. And so I want to talk about, though, what are some ways that we can move through worry. It's still going to be there, but if we could lighten the load a little bit with deepening the understanding is really important. So first of all, getting clear on what it is that we do worry about. So if it's not front and center, this is not still something you can consider so that you're a little better prepared. And so thinking about what are those places that you often tend to worry. So creating that awareness. We know from work around emotional intelligence that awareness is the linchpin of EQ and also resilience. And then what can you give yourself permission to explore here? Worry doesn't always have to be logical. Like my worry around finances, I have, over the years, saved up enough money that I can take, at least a quarter of a year off. And I've done that because of my medical condition. But sometimes I still worry, like, do I have enough money? And it's like, Leona, is this really logical? But just permission to explore it. Just go for it. And so thinking about what it is that you're worrying about, acknowledging that, writing that down helps your brain to make sense of it. Okay, because even there you're like, maybe it is something that needs to be combated. What is it that is important? Is it a legacy worry? Is it something front and center? Is it something else that's happening in my life and I need a little bit more care and self-care? Because when I am not caring for myself, my resilience is down. I haven't getting good food, water, taking care of myself, moving, getting sunlight, all those important pieces. Thinking about, is there any behaviors that this trigger? So when I was young, I had what I call an eating thing. It was never officially diagnosed, but I would weigh myself a lot. And if I weighed less, I would eat less. And if I weighed more, I would eat more. If I weighed more, I would eat less too. And so it wasn't logical. It just was something that I did in order to feel like I was in control. But when I started to notice the behaviors, because often we're not aware of the emotional piece, we go straight into behaviors without being aware. Sometimes the behaviors is the way that we pull ourselves back and go, wait a minute, am I worrying about something? Sometimes we live in such triggered places that we don't know actually what's going on until we're caught in that behavior. So being aware of what behaviors that drive. So myself around money, I often will check I have in the past, I don't do this anymore, but if I'm feeling vulnerable, I check my bank account and I'm like, it might not even be about finances that I'm feeling vulnerable. It could be something in my relationships or something else, but yet I still go back to the bank account. So notice what behaviors are triggered as a result of the worry. And then thinking, am I living in a trigger or am I living in the truth? And so drawing ourselves back. So what's the triggered thoughts and behaviors and what's actually the truth? So how can I remind myself of what the truth is in this situation so that, and it's just the bare facts. Maybe there is something that needs to be worried about. But then we go back to that resilience statement and think, okay, what can I control and what can't I control here? And what I can control, what's one thing I can do to control it? For myself, I have these tumors. That's why I really am committed to well-being and stress management so these little suckers don't grow. And so I can control that. The other things I can't control, I've got my resilience mantra, which just says I'll always be given what I need when I need it, which does not mean bad things don't happen, but I can remind myself to stay in this moment. And those things are the things that really help me to stay centered, because we want to stay centered. And then thinking about what behaviors support the truth. So for myself, when I was in the bank account checking phase where I know that is a triggered behavior, then I think, okay, what is it that are some other behaviors that I could engage in that would increase my joy, increase my resilience so that I'm not going back to that triggered behavior? So what are those things that bring you joy? Do you need to play more, rest more? And thinking about that so we're not living from this place of simply reaction, but we are creating and curating a life that bolsters our truth and helps us when we feel worried. The other piece is that gratitude, while it might sound trite while we're worried about something, really does ground and anchor the brain and produce a more thoughtful response for us when we are triggered by worry. So thinking about what it is that we can be grateful for is also another important piece. So I'll be telling more about this in a blog this week. So if you would like to get on that list so you can get the actual read out of this, then let me know. Give me your email address in a private message. I'll be happy to add you to that list and you can remove yourself at any time. So in the meantime, lots of love for you. May you know more love and courage instead of worry.